Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing okay. This is Mr. K with another episode of Deep Within. So today I'm back because I've actually been asked again to clarify on the subject that the second video I posted, where I said that we are made by God and somehow sons of God and supposed to be acting like gods, right? So again, those who are Bible troopers, they wanted me to clarify and provide some clarification, I guess, vis-a-vis the Bible, because they want to know from the Bible itself, right? So today I'm going to bring in one of the greatest book, I guess I like to quote when it comes to that particular subject, is Psalms 82. Psalms 82. In Psalms 82, you get to clearly see exactly what I said in the video. Whereas God is again saying he's not alone, he's got other gods with him, and somehow the gods were, breeding and mingling with men. And here you'll see, it says here in Psalms 82 verse 1, God presides in the great assembly. He renders judgment among the gods. And in verse 2, how long will you defend the unjust and show partiality to the wicked? Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. And in verse 5, it says, the gods know nothing, they understand nothing. They walk about in darkness. Again, it says the gods, plural. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. And in verse 6, that's where it gets better. That's where it gets good. And it says, I said, you are gods. Again, plural. You are all sons of the Most High, but you will die like mere mortals. You will fall like every other ruler. And in verse 8, it closes that way. Rise up, O God, judge the earth, for all the nations are your inheritance. So in Psalms 82, right there, you can clearly see, again, it correlates with the book of Genesis, where God is again saying he's not alone in creation. He is talking to other gods. He stands in or presides over an assembly, and the assembly happens to be an assembly of gods. I'm not making this up. You can go and read it in the Bible, Psalms 82. And again in verse 6, it says, I said, you are all gods. Not God as in singular, but gods. So again, I wanted to bring this up because people say I need to clarify this with the Bible. And again, I don't think I need to bring any other verses or any books, because right there, Psalms 82 covers it all. Because it correlates with the book of Genesis, and it shows you God is always talking to other gods, and he's always trying to state he's not alone. And again, let's take a look at the fact that even in the New Testament, it says to all those who believe in his name, he's now given the right to be called sons of God. So if your creator is a God, and you happen to be created in his image and resemblance, that makes you what? If a horse gives birth to a horse, that's a horse. So why would it be any different when it comes to something that God has created? Okay, you need to understand the concept. And again, if you look in the book of Genesis, there's a clear distinction in between men and the sons of gods. So that's why I tell people, when you use the word men, you need to understand you're playing with different things from book of Genesis. Because clearly you see that after man was made and that their daughters began to multiply, that's when the sons of God came. But you don't see the creation of the sons of God in the book of Genesis, right? So they came down from heaven and just started, interbreathing and mingling with mankind. but they're not actually men. They're sons of gods. So now you need to understand, when you say men and the sons of God, you're not talking about the same thing here. So that's why I'm telling people, we need to understand the fact that the book of Genesis is not complete. You need to go and find the story elsewhere. When you go in the story of the Sumerians, their story of creation, then there you see they clearly state it was not just one God involved in creation. When you go into the Hindus, right, the Bhagavad Gita, when you read, you see that they also talk about plurality of gods. When you go to Egypt, though you may see different names, but again, they're talking about plurality of gods. And it so happens that when Moses, okay, you'll see now where again God is saying that he's actually, there I believe God has a better way in the Bible of quoting that there are other gods, and he wants his people to be aware of that. Moses somehow left Egypt and he's gone to a different land, has met his wife, and now he receives a message from God after he went up to the mountain and saw the burning bush, and it spoke to him, right? And he says to Moses, I want you to go back to Egypt and free my people. So Moses went back, and this new God helped him to free the people of Israel and brought them out of Egypt. So once out of Egypt, now Moses went back up the mountain. And there Moses will be given the what? The 10 Commandments. And now God is so aware that there are other gods, and that because man has free will, they can actually choose to serve other gods. The first commandment that came out of the 10 Commandments, first one came out, says what? It says, thou shalt not have any other gods before me. I am the Lord thy God. So why would God clearly mentioning that you should not have any other gods before me, lest he know that there are other gods? So there he's clarified it. He's sealed the whole thing. God himself has just, clarified the fact that yes, there are other gods, and as my people, I want you to understand that I am the Lord your God, so thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Because in any other, instances, they could probably choose to, worship a different God, as they were doing in Egypt. They were worshiping different gods. And when Moses went up the mountain, because he delayed to come down the mountain, there the people got scared and thought he was dead. They reverted back to the old people they were when they were in Egypt. What did they do? First thing they did, they grabbed all the gold they could find, right? And did what? And did a cow. They did a golden statue of a cow, and they started worshiping it just like they were doing back in Egypt. Because there are other gods. And now when people say, well, they were worshiping a statue, no, that's not the point. The point is they're not actually worshiping the statue. Because if that's the case, then even Christianity would have a problem. Now, every Christian out there correlates it, with the cross. Every Christian has the picture of or something of a crucifix in their homes. So does that mean they're worshiping the cross? No, it's just for imagery. They attribute the God to that particular object so that they can actually, it's like a reminder. Whenever you see it, you're in the presence of that God. So they were not actually worshiping the cow. No, the cow was just a representation of what God they were worshiping. But the reality is they were worshiping a God. Just like today, nonetheless, you would not say, you know, the Christians are actually worshiping the cross. You say what? They worship God. So I want you guys to understand. And again, I want to say that this video is not actually an attack on anybody's faith or belief, right? I'm not doing this video to actually, you know, get you to stop believing or to stop doing whatever you're doing, or to stop believing in what you were taught and told for so many years. No, but I'm merely trying to get people to understand they need to question and reason, right? We're not only being taught, but also we are told to not question the things that we're told and taught. Whereas the Bible itself clearly states otherwise. Paul says you need to question the scriptures, right? You need to question the scriptures and study. You need to really go in deep and find out whether what you've been told and taught is actually the right thing. Because it says what? Your faith comes from what you hear, right? So if what you hear is also false, then what becomes of your faith? So that's why you need to study, question the scripture, and clearly, you know, go in deep to understand and base everything you believe on what you've studied, not on what somebody has said. Just because you were taught doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So again, I want to make that clear. This is not an attack on your faith or anybody's belief. No, I'm just merely trying to get you to go outside the box and think, because that's an ability, that's a faculty that God has given you from birth. You're supposed to use it. You're not supposed to let anyone, you know, tie or bind you into, you know, oh, you should not think. No, you gotta think, because first of all, the Bible says nothing can come up to your mind lest the Creator wants it to be. So whether it's a good thought or a bad thought, it comes to your mind because the Creator allows it. Of course, I'm not telling you if something bad comes up to your mind and you're supposed to just carry on with it. No, you're supposed to analyze it. Okay, that's why I said you need to have clear analysis. You need to analyze the thought, see what is good into it, or see what's bad into it, and just discard whatever is not good. But you cannot just say, hey, you know what? I don't want to reason or think because I may think of a bad thought. Because otherwise, God would not be God, because He's God, because He's good and He has knowledge of good and evil. If God only had knowledge of good, He would not be the God. For you cannot judge what you don't know. You cannot judge what you totally have no idea about. Ignorance is bliss, but not in all cases. So God is God, and He can only judge because He has knowledge of both good and evil. And again, I'm glad I brought that up, because let's go back to the book of Genesis. Again, when men, you know, sinned, and now the fall of man, God is passing judgment. What did He say? He says, behold, man has done what? Man has eaten from the tree which I have told him not to eat. And He says, let us, you know, prevent him from eating now from the tree of what? Of life. But He said, let us. Because now He didn't want mankind to try to reach out for the tree of life and eat and live eternally. So now He said to the other gods, let us not, you know, give men that opportunity. And He says, behold, man has become like what? One of us, for the knowledge of good and evil. And I want people to understand, nothing that is happening on this planet started with us as men, or whatever you want to call it. Everything that happens on this planet came from the source. The idea of wars, okay? Beautification of ourselves. Everything that we do comes from the source, or from the group of people that came from the source. Because when you read the book of Genesis, man was created on earth, right? And war did not start on earth. And it says, behold, there was war in heaven. War started in heaven. And after they said Michael and the devil, they fought, and now Michael was found victorious. He cast them down where? Onto the earth. So now the knowledge of war, the idea of war, has left heaven and has come down to earth. Men did not start wars. So you need to understand that concept. So now you ask yourself, okay, why do we have so many wars? Well, again, we're following the footsteps of the gods. Because when you go into the book of the Sumerians or the book of Enoch, you realize that the gods that came down here and started interbreeding with mankind, they started warring among themselves for territories. The gods wanted to rule the people they've created. So that's why you see that in the Bible, there are so many gods. When you, again, if you go into the Jewish text, right, it says that, O Israel, I am the Lord your God, and I am one. And he says, I am the same now, tomorrow, and forever, right? So why is it that every time somebody meets God, there's a different name? Well, the Bible scholars, or those who study the Bible, they actually have attributed that to attributions of gods. They're saying that, oh, these are different aspects of gods. But you need to understand, just like the pharaohs, Pharaoh is not a name, Pharaoh is a title. So the gods also have titles. Whenever you see a god, name, and the same name remains, and there's some that comes after it, there's some that follows it, that's the name of the god. The first one is the title. So when you say Jehovah, Jehovah is a title. It's not the name of God. But when you start adding other things behind Jehovah, now you find the name of the gods. So all these gods are of the same group, but they have different names with same titles. And go and read the Bible. You see there are so many names that is attributed to Jehovah. Because if the name of God was just Jehovah, every time somebody meets God or is speaking of God, they would just use Jehovah. Simple as that. And when Moses met God, he said, my name is I am. He didn't even say Jehovah. So why is the name constantly changing? Because you need to understand, they were not always meeting the same God. Because there was a fight for territory on the planet, and different gods of the same group wanted to rule over men. And every time, they would also go to captivity, then they would be serving different gods from different nations. So again, I wanted to put this out there because I was asked again to clarify the fact that I said, well, the gods lived among men, and, God wasn't alone in creation. So in Genesis, you'll see it. In Psalms 82, again, you'll see it. And again, when man sins, and I believe in Genesis chapter 3, when judgment is being placed upon, the serpent, Eve, and Adam, God is also referring to plurality, because again, if he was not alone creating, he cannot be alone passing judgment, right? So he was passing judgment, and he said, behold, man has, somehow eaten from the forbidden tree and have become like one of us for the, for the knowledge of good and evil. But again, he said, one of us. So again, I'm going to leave one little, gem out there. I want you guys to actually use this as a little exercise to exercise your brain and ask questions. If it is just the knowledge of good and evil that has actually rendered Adam mortal and Eve as well, so that makes what of the gods? Because they also have the knowledge of good and evil. And you'd realize the moment that Adam, had acquired the knowledge of good and evil, all the bad things started happening on earth. So you would also have to ask questions. Why are the gods fighting in heaven? If everything was in harmony, what happened? Why are they fighting? Is it the knowledge of good and evil? I want you to do this little exercise. Work your brain and leave in the comment what you think. Read and let me know what you found out. This has been Mr. K. Have a good one. Until then, go within. God is within. And He'll tell you all you need to know. Have a blessed one.